So, Julia, what a pleasure it is to have meet you and for you to come on to our Community of Practice channel here on SETC. And, on behalf of SETC, we thank you for your leadership today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Awesome. So, as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Sure, I'd be pleased to. My name's Julia Grant, and I'm a founder of Collington Capital. I've got many years' experience in social impact investing, and I've advised on social investment over the world. Background is that I've held many leadership roles in the non-profit sector, mostly in the UK, including an organisation called Pro Bono Economics. And before that, Impetus, which is the foundation of the venture capital private equity industry. And before that, I worked in strategy consulting. But I've also worked as a volunteer in rural Zambia, helping women's groups and children. My educational background is that I've got an MBA from London Business School. And before that, I did a politics, philosophy and economics degree at the University of Oxford. Just a little bit about Collington Capital. What we want to see is a financial system where investments focus on both social and environmental impact, alongside, of course, financial returns. And we believe that impact investing and blended finance, which is a core part of it, will become mainstream. And indeed, we're beginning to see that happening already, and I'll perhaps talk about that a bit later. So at Collington Capital, with many others in the field, we think we can help make this happen and make it happen quicker. And we do that by connecting private capital with businesses that are working to create positive impact. And working together with them, we want to build a really vibrant investment market that benefits everyone.
Very good, very good. That is very needed. And could you articulate your mission and vision for us and what inspires you about the work that you do?
Yeah, sure. So our mission is really to connect private capital with businesses, and our vision is a world where social impact investment and blended finance is, as I said, mainstream. And I guess what inspires me about that is the chance. I've got the chance now to help impact-led enterprises access capital. There are many doing very, very good work, but they're not ready for investment yet. They need some help. They're not oven ready. So perhaps what I can do is bring them a recipe to make them oven ready so that they can scale both their size, but more importantly, their impact, and make a real difference, both in terms of social justice and, of course, in terms of sustainability. And those are the key challenges we're facing in the world today. So if we can find a route to help impact-led enterprises play their part, then that's our definition of success. And that, I guess, is what excites me.
Exactly. Very, a lot of the businesses that want to create that impact don't have the guidance or the mentorship, and that's a missing factor to really bring it, like you said, to scale. So that's excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what challenges or barriers have you faced, and how were you able to overcome them or in the process of overcoming them?
Well, I guess what we're seeing is that capital markets are changing quite fast, and there's definitely an appetite now amongst investors and more policymakers more generally to sort of bring impact to the center of the investment world. But although impact investment has grown over the past decade, if you look at it as a proportion of global assets, it's still an absolutely tiny, tiny proportion. And we think there's a bit of a sort of communication gap between investors who want to put impact into the investment, but they're looking for scale immediately. And then you've got investees who need that capital to scale, but they need help to develop investment propositions. And what's really missing in the package is the sort of intermediaries, the impartial advisors who can make the linkage between the two parties by helping the investees create really strong investment propositions and helping investors understand how they can use blended finance to optimize their risk and return profiles. So we think the barrier is that early stage investment in the broadest term in advisory capacity and expertise. You referred to it just now as mentorship. It's that sort of expertise that impact-led enterprises need to start their journey towards impact investment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what are some of your key priorities you're working on currently?
Well, our aim over the medium term is to mobilize $500 million in philanthropic funding and investment over the next 5 to 10 years. To do that, we need to help raise funds, promote the integration of impact into those funds propositions, and build investment readiness around with the investee businesses. So we know we can't work across the whole spectrum. We just don't have the expertise or the bandwidth to do that. So we're focusing on a narrow but complementary set of goals around poverty alleviation, health, education, women's empowerment, and economic development. And we think those themes, make a very coherent and sensible focus for our advisory capacity over that 5 to 10 year term.
Awesome. And so, how do you feel about the future of social impact?
I feel pretty positive, certainly from the UK perspective. We've seen a lot of momentum around impact investment, and that's been boosted actually by the election of the new government in the UK. Since the Labour Party took power in July 2024, there's been some really quite important initiatives. They've launched a national wealth fund that's aiming to mobilise at least 70 billion of private capital investment using blended finance and taking a more direct approach towards impact. Rachel Reeves, the new Chancellor, has announced reforms to the pension fund industry. And again, that should blend into more innovative finance solutions and start some more allocation from the pension sector into impact. We've seen the government sponsoring a new social impact investment vehicle, which looks like another crack at the development of social impact bonds, which of course the UK government pioneered about 10 years ago. So I guess the initiative is there, the policy agenda is there. The challenge now is how you implement those initiatives well and ensure that they meet their full potential.
Exactly. I know that, a lot of the different governments, they really trying to adhere to this sustainable development goals and
Yeah.
making sure, yeah, they stay on point with that because that seems to be an international goal. That is definitely an international goal that we all have to come together and work together and achieve for the greater good of ourselves and the planet, and I always go back to
Yeah.
the next generation because we're really doing it for them. We're just really setting the stage, but we want to set a foundation, a solid foundation for them to move up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. So, what's your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you?
So I talked earlier about how we see capital markets are shifting now towards responsible business and responsible investment. I guess our longer term vision at Collington Capital is we want to see global capital markets actually driving large scale social impact rather than reacting to it. And to do that, our mission is to connect all the different actors in the investment chain and make sure they're all talking the same language. And by doing that, we think we can ensure that more capital flows into impact-led enterprises. And once, as I said before, if we can help those enterprises access the capital they need to scale, then they can also scale their social impact.
Exactly. Well, Julia, you are definitely a key factor into solving that gap, because that's always been a gap for people who have the idea, who want to make the impact, who want to do things for the environment and for humanity and for community, but don't know where to start, don't know like the proper guidance, where to get the proper funding and all that. And it's so amazing to see, you know, the sector of work that we do is actually coming together and making sure that that happens for an outcome, you know, because I don't know if you ever heard like outcomes finance. There has to be, what is the outcome for the input that we're putting in, the work that we're putting in, and you know, what is the ultimate outcome? Where's the results? Where's the data to show that all the blood, sweat, and tears that we're doing
Yeah,
is
sure.
actually is actually manifesting something, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. So my last question for you is, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to actions at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about some work we've been sponsoring through our foundation at Collington Capital. That's the Harriet Collington Foundation. And we've been supporting some work at the London School of Economics at their Grantham Research Institute. And Professor Sarah Gordon has been working here to see how blended finance can help governments unlock private capital and meet some pressing public policy priorities around housing, education, net zero, and more. And what Professor Gordon's work highlights is 5 key principles for successful collaboration in this area. The first one is being open to different types of financial instruments. Government shouldn't go in with a preconceived idea about how this is going to work or how that is going to work. As you said earlier, look at the evidence, develop some pilots, review how they worked, and you know, successes and failures are equally important in terms of learning. The second principle she identifies is collaboration from the start. Public investors need to work really closely with the companies they're investing in, identify gaps, and then look at the evidence to choose the best solution to close those gaps. Building trust early, you know, acknowledge that people sometimes come to this thing from different perspectives and address it head on. Just don't let those differences in point of view sort of fester and create problems further down the line. And acknowledge differences in expertise. It's like it's not one person holds all the cards in this transaction. Each party can learn from each other. And so open discussion and adjustment as you go through the process is absolutely key. And the final and obvious one is set up proper governance so that everybody's interests are identified and represented through clear government structures. So we think that's a really helpful, important, practical list of things. And we hope to see investors all adopting that in their checklist, if you like.
Yeah, that's perfect. I know people will definitely write that down because it really covers all the angles, and it keeps one it keeps it very transparent, very open,
Sure.
and for dialogue, for conversation, and for different opinions. You
Yeah,
know, this is not the sector for ego, and you know that we're doing away with that. You know, it's about
hopefully,
community. Yeah,
hopefully.
yeah. Wow, Julia, this has been amazing. We appreciate you so much. I know a lot of people, when they watch this, will also get some great uh, gold nuggets in this. So, on behalf of Setsi, again, we want to thank you so much for your time. This won't be the last. We'll definitely reach out to you on other projects that we have coming, and we have something called the Solidarity Working Group, which I spearhead, where we have a conglomerate of different organizations, different philanthropic to non-for-profit, that we come together, and at the end of the day, we are looking for that outcome, you know, the goal,
Yeah,
reaching to that goal. So we'll definitely extend the invite for you. So
thank you.
you're welcome. So as always, we close as the same way we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on. as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So all the best, and we'll be in touch. And thank you once again.
Thank you.